Good morning, I'm John Delano. Welcome to the Sunday Business Page. This morning, Pennsylvania's Auditor General Eugene DePasquale on prescription drug pricing, voting security. Then, Point Park University's 2 new centers of excellence, a school of education, and the downtown Pittsburgh Playhouse. President Dr. Paul Hennigan and Dr. Darlene Marnich, Professor of Education and Chair of the university's education programs, will join us. And then we'll find out what the Advanced Leadership Initiative does and why it received a shot in the arm from the Heinz Endowments. Evan Frazier, founding director, and Robert Allen Young, the new managing director, will be here with the details. It's all next right here on the Sunday Business Page.
This is the Sunday Business Page on KDKA-TV.
And a very good morning to you. Thanks for spending part of your Sunday morning with us. Pennsylvania's Auditor General is the Commonwealth's fiscal watchdog. His office is charged with monitoring everything from prescription drug pricing to voting security. We're so very pleased to welcome Eugene DePasquale back to the Sunday Business Page to discuss these important issues. Eugene, great to have you on the show.
My pleasure, John. Thanks for having me.
So let's start with voting security. Right. This election is just weeks away in Pennsylvania and across the nation. And there are real concerns about whether the Russians, Vladimir Putin, in one way or another could be impacting our elections here in Pennsylvania. What's your worry?
Well, first of all, we are now auditing the Department of State's election security system. A couple things. Number one is 12 Russians were recently indicted by the special counsel Robert Mueller for trying to basically infiltrate election systems across the country. Pennsylvania was one of the 21 states that they tried to hack our voter registration system, and we now know that a Russian oligarch actually owned the Maryland voter registration system. So we're doing our part to make sure our system is protected.
That's unbelievable. The Maryland voting system was owned by a Russian oligarch?
Yeah, because what most people don't realize is the actual data systems are privately run, and the state contracts with them. The one in Maryland was owned, at least in part, by a Russian oligarch.
How about here in Pennsylvania?
No evidence that to this point, but that's, again, why we're going in to do the audit.
You know, it always has worried me that there's no real paper trail to our voting machines. We go in there, it's electronic voting, you know, you flip it and you vote real quick, you press the button. But how do we know that the way we actually cast our vote is what is electronically recorded in the end?
There's a lot of concern over that. So one of the things we're going to do at the end of this is make recommendations on how we can make sure that everyone's vote is properly tabulated. And likely what we're going to come to the conclusion is that we've either have paper ballots or a paper trail for an electronic machine.
But I'm right, there are none right now.
That is correct.
And that's not good, I don't think.
No, I mean, regardless of who people vote for, we've got to have confidence that the people that win the election are the ones that got the most votes. Right. And right now, there's a lot of doubt over people's voting security.
General DePasquale, let me just ask you point blank, are you assured in any way by our state folks that this election in 2018 in Pennsylvania will be a true and correct reflection of voter sentiment?
I am confident that the election will be secure and safe. Having said that, there's still a lot more we can do. I know the state is looking to update their database. We're doing certainly our due diligence on the audit, and we need to make sure going into the 2020 presidential election that we are ready for whatever may come our way.
Let me ask you about another important issue, which has to do with prescription drug pricing. Right. We are all affected by the pricing of prescription drugs, no matter what age we are, from an infant to a very aged senior citizen.
That's right.
I've got it up in the other range of it. You know, you're doing an audit with respect to something called, and I'm going to get this wrong, PBMs, Pharmacy Benefit Managers. What exactly is this that you're looking into right now?
Through our Medicaid dollars, basically the state hires these pharmacy benefit managers through a managed care organization, which sounds like a lot of gobbledygook. But their job is to go negotiate with Big Pharma to get rebates for all of us consumers at the local level. And one of the things I'm concerned is that there's a real lack of accountability on whether they're doing that job to make sure consumers are getting the advantage of these rebates. So I am concerned that consumers are paying too much on the back end and that there isn't enough accountability. The state pays billions of dollars for these pharmacy benefit managers to do their job. And right now, I am concerned that the consumers aren't getting the benefit of that.
So let me be clear about this. We're really talking in terms of what your office is doing about all the tax dollars that we spend on medical assistance, Medicaid
That's
programs, which once went to the poor, but now under expanded Medicaid
That's right.
goes to a lot of working folks
That's right.
in Pennsylvania. How many millions of people? It's over 1 million people.
Well, yeah, from the governor expanding Medicaid, that led to an additional 800,000 being added to the Medicaid. Well, so now you're probably in the neighborhood of about 3 million people that are involved in this.
So 3 million Pennsylvanians are getting prescription drugs that we pay for as taxpayers across the state of Pennsylvania. And you're concerned that the folks in charge of negotiating drug prices for these 3 million are not doing a good job?
Yeah, we've gone from about 1.8 billion to about 3.4 billion in cost just in the last 6 years.
Wait a minute, that's like doubling it in 6 years. Inflation's been nowhere near that number.
And that is correct, but I have yet to see the actual result at when the consumer goes to the actual counter to pay for their drug pricing. I'm concerned that we're not getting any value for that near doubling it in cost to the state taxpayers.
Well, you'd think that by buying in bulk, which I'm assuming is what happens in Pennsylvania when you're providing drugs for 3 million people, we should get the lowest possible price for those drugs, and that should be passed along to the consumer.
Absolutely, and if it's not, that's one of the things our report is going to detail, whether that's happening or not.
When are we going to have the results of this report?
We're going to be done sometime, November, early December.
Or later this year.
Yeah, correct.
Sometime this year. And then the hope is that the legislature, I mean, let's face it, you're a watchdog.
Right.
But you can't make things change.
That's right. So one of the things that I've met, and this is a bipartisan issue. A lot of legislators on both sides are concerned about this issue. So we want our report to be done before January so that we can work with both the House and Senate in a bipartisan way to prepare legislation to fix the problem.
We don't have too much time left, but I know that you get involved in so many issues as the state watchdog. Let me ask you about the school security issue, because that's another one that I know you've been involved in. Where are we with your audits, your reports there?
Well, we've done, the governor and I led a task force on school security, and we've now issued that report. The first wave of that has happened, which is about 60 million in grants going out to school districts to improve the of those individual buildings across the state. The next phase, we need to find a way to get more mental health services into these schools, because that is the #1 issue.
Yes, and you pointed that out at your press conference when you made this release, but $60 million, Eugene, is a drop in the bucket when you got districts. That's not even $1 million per district. I mean, I don't know what it is that you expect districts to do with that kind of money.
Oh, there's no question. That, like I said, that was the first wave of it. The next wave, which I think is, again, going to be part of the next budget process, is really finding a way to get more mental health dollars into these schools, because that is critical.
Yeah. Well, State Auditor General Eugene DePasquale, it's always great to have you on the show, Eugene. Welcome home again. I know you grew up here.
That's right.
Don't live here right now, but we love the fact that you're from Pittsburgh. So thank you again for being here.
Thanks, John.
Appreciate it. When the Sunday Business Page continues, Point Park University begins the new term by taking some bold steps towards the future. Why the new downtown Pittsburgh Playhouse and School of Education are changing the face of Point Park. President Dr. Paul Hennigan and Education Department Chair Dr. Darlene Marnich will join us. Stick with us.